Hi, it's John and welcome to another video. In last week's video, I decided to build a preset live. Well, kind of live. I had to edit it because I make loads of mistakes when I'm talking. But I basically was doing the research, figuring it out, letting you hear what I'm listening to and what I'm figuring out as I go along. So this week I'm doing a preset that was requested by a viewer, which is a Hank Marvin or the Shadows preset. I've decided to take an early Hank Marvin sound and I'm going to look into it, figure out what he used. I think in my head it sounds quite simple, but listening back to some of the tracks this morning, there might be a bit more to it than I initially thought. So I don't know a lot about Hank Marvin and the Shadows other than the track Apache and maybe a couple of others that I know of but I don't know the name of. So I'm going to jump into Spotify. I'm going to play a couple of tracks that I'm going to focus on, and then I'll jump over to AI, to Gemini, ask it a few questions, see if we can figure out what the signal chain is, and then start building the preset. Okay, so let's dive in. So I've pulled up the Shadows Greatest Hits on Spotify here, and number 1 is Apache, number 2 is Man of Mystery. I'm going to focus on these two tracks. The first track, Man of Mystery, I just had a listen to, starts with what I initially thought was just a clean guitar, clean amp, and a bit of slapback. But then when I listened again, I wasn't sure whether it was reverb or delay that was adding a bit of sort of echoes on the end. So I was listening through the track and I found this section. So I don't know if you heard that then. I'll play it again. Listen to the tails on the repeats of the echo. So there's a kind of a rhythmic delay happening. Bap, bap, up. So that's something to look into. Then there's Apache. I'm going to need my headphones for this one. Yeah, I can hear some delays. Yeah, I can definitely hear the delays repeating in a kind of rhythmic pattern on that one as well, in that little section. So let's head over to Gemini. I'm going to ask Gemini to do a bit of research for me, find out what amps, what effects, I know what guitars were used, if there was any outboard gear that was used in the studio, that kind of thing. Okay, so I jumped into Gemini. I asked what was Hank Marvin's gear used in the early 60s Shadows records, and I want a full signal path including any outboard studio gear used on records. I used deep research for this one just to sort of jump in and find a bit more info. It came up with a plan here which is pretty much telling me what was used already. It just wasn't very specific about it. And then it went into the actual gear setup here, and it's quite the list. It's referenced, apart from Wikipedia, it's gone into like Sound on Sound, Denmark Street Online, reverb.com, Native Instruments, Premier Guitar, Shadows Music, Vox Showroom, Vintage Rock Mag. So there's a few references in here that it's used, and let's see what it's come up with. So guitars, well, I think everyone who knows who Hank Marvin is knows that he only used, still only uses a Fender Stratocaster. So there's the Fiesta Red, or Flamingo Pink as he referred to it, Fender Strat. That's the one that I kind of know of him using. There's a table. So this is Hank Marvin's key guitars in the early 60s. So he was using these Vega, then a Grimshaw Antoria, then finally 59 he went to a Fender Strat. That was a maple neck, gold hardware, tremolo equipped. If you've heard Shadows, you know that he uses a tremolo all the time, so you'd need that. One of the first Strats in the UK, used in the group's third single and Cliff's first studio LP. That's Cliff Richard. Then he had a red Rosewood fretboard, chrome hardware, Fender Strat. They used on the Young Ones and Summer Holiday. And then a white Strat later on. And then he moved on and got some other guitars like the Burns Marvin and a Gretsch Countryman. Now, the amps. So initially, possibly a Selmer. No bigger than a cornflake packet. And then utilized Vox amps. I thought it was going to be a clean Fender amp, but it turns out it apparently started with a Vox AC15, and then I read somewhere, oh, there we go, he used an AC30 as well, or later on used an AC30. So we used the AC30 model. I don't have a Fender Strat, but I do have my Schecter Nick Johnston Traditional, which will do the job. Hank's personal AC30 is modified with a treble booster designed to deliver a cleaner sound at higher volume levels. Well, we don't need to worry so much about that using a modeler, but we will. I'll probably use the normal AC30. If it's not bright enough, then I'll switch to the Brilliant version, whatever the model name is. Okay, signature echo and reverb effects. So the Hank's original and foundational echo unit was an Italian-made Meazzi Echomatic. The Meazzi Echomatic 1 was used in 1960 to 61 on Apache. Okay, so we need to know what this is. Oh yes, look at this, the Echomatic. I love this. I'd love one of these just to have actually just on my shelf behind. I think that'd be so cool. But I just saw the price and that's not going to happen. Oh, it's tube, ECC 83. So they've got 12 AX7s or ECC 83 tubes in there as well. I love that ad. All right, that is in Australia. That's 4,844 Australian dollars with $130 shipping. So I won't be buying that. Any cheaper ones? Oh, there's a Watkins, the old Watkins copycat there for $2,500. No thanks. Oh, what? The Maxon analog delay is 8250 is $2,000. Jeez. Okay, so we know we need a tape echo. That's fine. I can do that in the Tone Master Pro. It sounds like they used Abbey Road's echo chambers for reverb, was it? All right, there was a lot to read through there. It was taking too long. So I have asked it to create a summary instead. So we've got the guitars listed. We've got the Vox AC15 and then the AC30, which it says was the definitive amp from 59 onwards. So that's the one I'm going to use. Obviously, we don't have an AC15 in the Tone Master Pro. It does say that studio recordings up to early 62 likely used non-top boost versions. Is that the Brilliant model in the Tone Master Pro? We'll go with the normal model then. Then it says the Echo and Reverb, which was the Echomatic 1 or Echomatic 2. So Echomatic 1 is Apache. So we'll go with, we only have like the tape delay or whatever it's called in the Tone Master Pro. So we'll use that. They used Abbey Road's echo chambers for reverb. Not much we can do with that. But it does say here that they also used a Vox Echo reverb unit, which was spring-based reverb. That was a subtle yet warm and sweet effect. So we might use a spring reverb as well as the echo. That should do it. Mixing consoles. Okay, mics. An extensive collection with Neumann U47 and STC 4033 commonly used for electric guitars. Extremely close to the speakers. Interesting. What is an STC 4033? Okay, it's a ribbon mic. So we can use the Royer R121 model, paired with Neumann U47. That's a condenser. Neumann U47. Is it Neumann or Newman? Neumann, I think. Okay, it's a switchable condenser microphone. Oh, pattern switching. So you can go between cardioid and omni patterns for the mic. So we need a condenser and a ribbon. Outboard processing, Fairchild compressor, and EQ console based. Okay. Malcolm Addy, known for using liberal amounts. So let's start building the preset. The first thing that it suggested, obviously, is the AC30. So let's start with the combo amp. And I'll go with normal, because I think that's the original version. I've never tried putting a tape delay in front of an amp. Not sure how that's going to work, so let's give it a go anyway, and then we can always move it later. So we'll go tape echo, sorry. After that, we need a spring reverb. I like the 65, not the 63, but that's more. No, we should use a 63, shouldn't I? Okay, 63, that goes after the amp. We need a compressor. Probably a studio compressor, I would have thought, if it's going to be after the amp. Need some kind of EQ. That can go before the reverb. And then just quickly set up two mics. We want a condenser. I really like the C414. And also, what was the second one? A ribbon. Okay, and we'll get these cuts down a bit, which I can tweak later, but I'm not having them at 20 kilohertz. That's ridiculous. Let's go for, I don't know. That's still too high. Let's go 7.5 and 7.5. We'll move the mics around later. Now, I wanted to figure out what was going on with the delay times that were used on the record, so I just did a quick search. The first video that came up was Hank Marvin Echo on YouTube. The quality is absolutely shocking, but it does explain what happens with the repeats on the echo. So have a listen to this.
You can hear the echo. Let's see. Da-da-da-da.
So that's what we need to replicate, that da-da-da-da. I tried using the stereo tape echo. I wasn't really getting the results I wanted, so I'm using two separate tape echoes next to each other. The first one is just a slap back. Bum dum dum. Bum 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 bum. The second one, I'm going to try and do the ba-bum echoes. That's quite close.
Da-da-da-da.
I think that's it. Okay, so I've just bypassed those two echoes. I just want to check on the reverb. That's quite loud. They were talking about it being quite subtle. just want to try I know it's not period correct, but I just want to try the 65. I prefer that. But I just want to go back to the recording and just do a bit of a sense check. Yeah, there's quite a lot of, can't tell whether it's tape echo or whether it's the reverb. Let's turn these back on. I don't think they're as loud as I've got them. No, probably not. Definitely too loud. Let's start there and then we'll... It sounded quite good already. I haven't even set the mics up yet. They did say close mic'd, so... Here's a little tip for you. When you're setting up mics, if you go into the looper, you hold it down and then hold it down a second time, it will set the looper position to pre. Now, when looper position's on pre, that means you can record something and then start moving things around and still hear the effect, rather than it being sort of recorded with the effect. And now I can move things around. That way you can sort of audition where you want to move mics around. You can do that with any effect or any block, by the way. It's a very useful little technique. Let's go back to Man of Mystery. Now this one has a bit more kind of, definitely brighter. Has a bit more gain on it. But then for Apache, it's a bit too much. So, how about a booster? And then you could turn that off. That could work. So foot switch on off for the booster. Yep. I've turned off the studio compressor. I'm going to try using a simple compressor at the start of the chain instead of at the end of the chain. I like that. That's just set to mid. Let's try low. Turn the boost off. Let's try the looper. Yeah, I'm going to use that instead. That's a lot simpler to set up than this one, and it does exactly what I need it to. It's just lift that volume a little bit for all of the notes. EQ. Do we need the EQ? All right, I need to listen without headphones. Sounds pretty good. So maybe have the EQ as a foot switch as well. Or you could have a scene where you go from bright to... let's just try that. So if we were to use that foot switch, wrong way around. All right, so that could be a bright foot switch basically. So you have the normal sound. This is all using the bridge pickup, by the way. Then the bright switch. Might even need a bit more boost. I think it's because it's an old recording, it just has a bit of like tape saturation. Don't know the rest. Maybe I'll try playing along to this. All right, the bright switch is off. Let's try Apache. All right, so there you have it. That is my Hank Marvin preset that I've just built. It's called JGG Hank Marvin, and I will upload this to the cloud. Annoying that you have to write a description. What would you call this genre? It's not really rock. Surf rock? I'm going to say surf rock. It's not really either of those. It's probably like, the Shadows were probably considered pop music back in the 60s, so it probably should be pop, but it just doesn't seem right to call it pop or pop rock. It sounds a bit more surfy to me. I'm going to say surf rock. Sorry, Shadows. I know that's completely the wrong genre. Oh. Song name, I'll say Apache. The Shadows. Oh, I can't spell. Post. Okay, that is there now. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the process that I take most often when I'm building presets. I usually take a little bit longer over this. In fact, sometimes I take weeks or even months over it, deliberating over certain mic settings and EQ and all that kind of thing. But generally, this is how I do it. This is how I research it and listen to the record, play along with it, listen in my headphones, listen on my speaker, and then sort of figure out how it sounds. When I listen back, I often find that it sounds a bit different when it's recorded to how it sounded through my headphones and through my FRFR speaker. But ultimately, you're going to be using this preset with an FRFR speaker, and to me, it sounds pretty good through this speaker when I'm playing along just, and I hope that it sounds good with your speaker setup, but if not, use the EQ7 or maybe tweak some of the speaker high cuts if it's too bright. If it's not bright enough, then boost in the EQ7 pedal. You can boost the frequencies in the 6.4 kilohertz here, which I've taken down a little bit. I've got it set to minus 1.4, but boost that back up if it's too dark for you. And yeah, just have a play around, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.